And we are live.
I was muted because I thought I was going to go into a coughing fit for some reason. Totally.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to BowtieUP Live, where we absolutely forgot that we were muted to start out with. So thank you very, very much to Pia for being with us today to start out with, and Google Stop the Music. Hand it over to my cohort, Lee Rowley, to get us introduced and on the way.
Oh, wow. We now know 34 different ways to mess up an intro.
Yeah, I think
But
we
we
should
didn't
like
do
count
that
it every
bad.
time. Oh,
Well, kind of like the
really
ducket bucket. Yeah, we won't get into that. All right, you guys know what freaking time it is. Come on in, sit your butt down, grab the popcorn, grab a beer. It's time for BowtieUP Live, and I am super excited today to introduce our guest. But first, I want to let this guy over here introduce himself and,
Hey there, everybody.
do his little shtick.
My name's Alex, I'm the owner at A3 Innovation and also partner at Real Impact Solutions, and very, very happy to be joined to my guest down here to my bottom. I always screw that up too. So down here we have Pia Silva joining us today. Thank you so much for being with us. We very much appreciate it. And thanks for the wonderful recommendation at the start of the show that we could dance into some nice, smooth and mellow vibes. So Pia, take it away. Introduce yourself. Let's get on the way.
Thanks, Alex and Lee. I'm Pia Silva. I own a badass branding company called Worst of All Design. Help service providers, 1 to 3 person service businesses build badass brands without the BS. I wrote a book called Badass Your Brand, and that pretty much sums it up. I'm in Brooklyn, New York, so that's pretty badass.
That's pretty badass in and of itself.
Is it badass right now out there in Brooklyn?
I mean, from
Or
where
bad.
I'm sitting, it is. It's okay. I'm in a good place. I feel very lucky.
That's wonderful.
Not sure if I told you in the intro, probably not, Pia, but we have something really cool we do here. And it's called stopping the show to say hello to some of our dear friends out in the audience joining us live. So to do so, stopping the show and saying hello to, in no particular order, joining us first would be Carla Rowley saying hello all. Hey, Carla, how's it going? Thank you for living with us for an hour. As always, William Stock saying hello. Hey, William, how's it going?
What's up, buddy?
See, thanks for jumping in. Sam saying, hey, guys. Hey, Sam, how's it going? And also Chris jumping in saying hello. Hey, Chris, how's it going? Thanks for the love. Thanks for joining us, and welcome to BowtieUP Live. Now back to your regularly scheduled interruption. Was I interrupting probably?
I don't even remember who we were interrupting. It doesn't really matter either. This is just kind of a, free form, chill out, ask your questions. You know what? Before I forget, I want to open the phone lines open for this episode. I forgot it yesterday.
We've been waiting for that.
We have been waiting for that. And I will have to do a little tech magic behind the scenes while somebody else is going on to make that happen. But somewhere in the middle of the show, I'm going to open up the phone lines, 800 number, for you guys to call in and ask questions, ask Pia, ask us. Heck, say whatever you're going to say. It's an open forum, mostly.
So you heard it here from Lee for today. First, we will be opening up the phone lines around halfway through. So while you guys wait for that, let's get into it. Pia, tell me some things about branding, about what's a badass brand. How does that make it different than just a normal brand? And how do you differentiate, what a brand really is? Break it down for those of us out there who maybe don't even clearly understand what branding can do for them.
So that the question in and of itself shows how challenging this whole idea of branding really is, right? Nobody really understands what branding is. First level answer is, oh, it's your logo and your colors. Okay, no, that's your visual brand. Second level answer is, it's what people say about you when you're not in the room. I like that. I think Jeff Bezos said that. I define badass branding specifically, not by what it is, by what it does. So a badass brand has two characteristics. One, it repels people as much as it attracts people. So it magnetically attracts people, and it's okay and really should be repelling everybody else.
I like this already.
And number two is you can charge a premium price. So you can charge more than the competition and still win the business. So if you are playing the pricing game, it's not possible to be a badass brand in my definition. I wrote the book, so.
Well said.
Yeah, and I'm loving it, man. Because when you talk about being able to not only attract but repel people, we're going to touch on that faux show. And charging a premium price, that's something that I think all of us struggle with until we have a badass brand. So I know this is what you do and that you are damn good at it. So let's get into it. When we talk about repelling and attracting, and if I take us in the wrong direction, you're like, yo, Alex, stop it.
Don't worry. I have a badass brand, so I'll do that.
Why is it important? Why is it important to repel and attract people just as much?
Yeah. So, most people are very scared of repelling others. Most people want to be liked by lots of people. People don't like being criticized, being judged. The problem with building a brand where you're trying not to offend anybody is that you have to dumb it down to the lowest common denominator. So it has to be generic. If you're not okay with turning somebody away, then you have to keep it really general. And really general and really generic doesn't attract any sort of love. So if you think about, what's the big brands that are like this are like Dell Computer, there's nothing to love about Dell Computer. It's fine. It's fine to everybody. And that's what they're trying to do. But there are things, and I hate using big brands as examples, actually, because I only work with small brands. And I actually think branding for very small businesses is very different than branding huge corporate companies. But I'll give you another example. We branded a financial firm, Stash Wealth. They're a perfect example of turning people off. They are very contrarian in their brand. Get your financial shit together is all over their website. And when they first wrote that on the website, they had a lot of their mentors emailing them. I don't think you should say that. People aren't going to like that. People, emailing them, I was thinking about hiring you, but I think that that's crude or whatever they were saying. But you know what? Their clients love them. They have such a push-pull brand. They piss people off. It's definitely not for you. But if you resonate with their voice and what they're saying, you love them. And actually, you see them as your only option because there really aren't other financial firms that talk like that. So
I don't really know how to even go from there because that was just so complete in how you explained that, Pia. Like it was just beautiful, man. Because what a good example. And you talk about the financial sector. You want to hear about a differentiator and something you don't see every day. And I work with, I've got clients in the financial industry and they are not the type to really go outside the norm. I think their favorite color is beige a lot of times. Pretty normal. So if you go on a finance website and you see get your financial shit together, now you got somebody you either hate or love.
Yes.
And you can be united with them. And your customer knows what to expect, right?
Yes. And look, I love them as an example because they're one of my clients who went all the way with it and really embraced it. And that's a big part of what I do. It's not just branding the companies. It's encouraging and inspiring the owner to embrace it and go farther with it. Because that's really hard for people because it's scary when you put a brand out there and then somebody emails you and says, oh, I'm not going to hire you because of that. But you have to turn your mindset around and say, and celebrate those. Because when somebody says, oh, I'm not going to hire you because of that, somebody else is going to say, I love that. And look, my company is called Worst of All Design. People email me when they want to hire us and say, oh my God, I love the name of your company. How cool. And how many times do you think I've been to I've introduced myself to somebody and they've gone, huh? Why would you call it that? Why would you want to be Worst of All Design? I'm like, I'm not for you. It's fine.
It's okay.
That's it. You know what I mean? So Yeah, it's a very it's got a lot more energy in it, and you want to have that energy push pull, because when you're a small business, you don't have the ad budget to do what these bigger companies who are much more generic can do,
Right.
which is just blanket them with advertising. You have to make that impression right now, and then that's it. So you got to make a statement.
I love that. So let's talk about how to make that statement. So how do you even start this obviously you need a badass brand coach like yourself, but giving us a sneak peek, how do you start that process? How do I even know that my brand is ready to be badass?
That's a great question. Well, I think you have to first ask yourself, how badass are you? You know, how badass do you want to be? And you are. Oh, okay. We gotta say a little more.
Like, okay.
You gotta give like a little more.
I'm pretty badass, you know?
I'm really,
get in there.
Like, I'm badass and I want to be more badass. And to me, being badass inside is just as much about striving for excellence in what you do. So, you know, all of the clients that come to me, and I think this is another great thing that happens when you have that push pull, is that all of the clients that I attract really want to be badass and are very excellent at what they do. And so they're coming to me because they're saying, I am badass. I just need help communicating that to other people. So I think the first step is to really embrace whatever it is that you're really great at and say, I want to be the best at this thing. Okay. So that's first. And then I think very quickly, step 2 is figuring out what that thing that you're going to be the best at is, and to focus there. And there's a lot of different ways that you can focus and slice it. You know, we all talk about niching, but I think niching, I'm taking it to an extreme. The more you can niche, the better. So can you niche in your target market? Can you niche in your voice? Can you niche in the process you offer? Can you niche in the way you package your services? I work with service businesses, so this is specific to service businesses.
And that's really important for service businesses, because we don't get that kind of advice a whole lot. It's all based on products and not services, where you're having a completely different conversation.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I only work with service businesses, because I think branding service businesses is its own art and requires these details that when you talk about general branding, and that's why when people talk about branding, they usually talk about Apple and Nike and Starbucks. It's like, that is so not applicable to us as a service business. And that those examples don't really apply. I used to have more people come into the office and say, you know, I'd say, what brands do you like? They'd say, you know, they'd all say Apple. It's like, well, that's really neither here nor there for this conversation, because that's not going to help you at all.
So what do you think about communication and how that fits in to having a badass brand, and how you're communicating specifically with your customers online? Are badass brands, when you talk about this repel and attract ideal, how do you have a loud, badass vision and destination and mission, and still have communication with all of your customers and make them feel, you know, welcoming and invited to interact with you? Do you see what I'm asking?
Yes. So I want to make a clarification, because I use the Stash Wealth example because I think it's so great. Oh, I was going to say this before. I think it's so great, but it's not always about being in your face. You know, I have branded a lot of companies where the brand didn't end up being badass your brand, get your financial shit together. I mean, more often than not, they're not that, because it's got to be authentic to you. So whenever I'm taking somebody through this process, I'm really digging deep into who they are and what makes them excellent and whatever makes them shine. And it's what makes the foundation of their badass brand is that they have the guts to own whatever that is. I think of it as like this part of them that they pull out and then scream on a billboard. So it's about having the guts to focus on that thing and only that thing, which most people are very scared to do. You know, most people don't want to limit themselves by focusing in on this one thing or saying they're all about this one aspect. So, yeah. Sorry.
So with that being, no, this is great. And when you talk about not wanting to focus on being one aspect, can't you apply that one aspect on a really broad level too? Because like, for example, and it's easy to apply for myself just because I'm in tech. So it's a lens that I'm thinking through. So it's like, I've got a tech company. We have 4 main sectors that we work in. Are you saying that we need to be specific in a niche and only focus on one of those sectors? Or are you saying that we can be specific in the type of problem that we solve? So for an example, if you're the difference between, I focus on in education, and then I'm also in small and medium businesses and emerging enterprise. So let's just take those 3 as an example. And you're a technology vendor, primarily just doing services, but also having products that you offer, such as like hosting or different like subscription methods. So you've got a mixture of SaaS and also kind of project-based work. So how do you take that as a brand and apply that voice to a broad range of voice that a company can have and voice that a company does?
Well, I think you're saying it in your question. I mean, the voice is your brand. And I think that voice can be the only aspect of your brand that is niche. I definitely don't think it has to be by sector or by size. For example, like I'm small service businesses, 1 to 3 person service businesses, but that is a huge range in terms of industry. So I have clients, architects, lawyers, coaches, test prep people, it really runs the gamut. But for me, the part that is very focused and that allows me to continually increase my expertise in what I'm doing is the fact that it's all these small service businesses, because the problems are always similar, and the approach has a very common theme, no matter what industry you're in, if it's in this space. And I can bring a lot more knowledge to the table, even if I'm doing just their brand and their website. I can bring knowledge about business and marketing strategy and all of these other tangential things that are going to help influence the brand I build, because I know so much about this space. Now, going back to your question, if you don't want to focus on those things, that's fine. I have a feeling that you are much farther along in business. So you've kind of grown into a place where you have all these different offerings. And I think that's a level of business that you're allowed to do. I have since branched out into, I have online courses, I do coaching, I definitely have more and more offerings. And I think that is a level of business that everyone gets to, where you want to have multiple streams of income and you're able to expand. But I don't think that's possible at first. I think at first
definitely not.
So you want to super focus at first. And then as you build your credibility and your brand voice, you have more opportunity to branch out. And then your brand voice can be the only thing that's really about your brand, and you can have all these different offerings, which sounds like is what you have done.
And so what the people that you're working with and the businesses that you're able to help are from every stage, from concept all the way to, emerging enterprise, so to speak, right?
Yeah. I mean, our clients, the people who hire us actually for the done for you services, they're usually pretty far along. I don't take startups for my done for you services. People who are much earlier in business, I usually recommend that they do the boot camp first and they take my courses, because first of all, I don't think somebody who is very new should invest the kind of money that we charge for a brand. You're not ready yet. You haven't had enough experience yet. You're not badass enough. Sorry. You have to have a few clients first.
Level up and come back.
Yeah. So we have something to work with too, because I don't think you're going to get that. I know you're not going to get that quick ROI from branding if you're really, really new. You have to have some foundation first.
And that's honestly incredible, because I think that you can tell a lot about where somebody is on business just by how far along they are and how they're branding and how they understand what they do. Because you can't really do anything for them. You can't even do it done for you if they don't know who they are. You can't do anything for you if you don't do anything yourself. Right. And that's something that you see a lot and people get really confused about. I know, because I've been there and was there for a while. And this guy over here, actually, as I point the wrong way, this guy helped me out of that and understanding, the what you really do and how that's important. So it's really just a great note, and I'm really enjoying talking about this. I do want to stop the show and say hello to one of our wonderful audience members over here on LinkedIn joining us, Nishant Goel, saying he is on Module 2 over at Copy Brand University. Congratulations, brother. Well done getting past and getting into Module 2. Keep up the good work. Great.
Yeah. We'll be talking at the end of the show. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that. Got something to say about that, but I'm not going to keep in there. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're enjoying it, and I'm glad you're getting a lot out of the coursework. That's really cool, man.
Yeah, keep us updated. Let us know if you have any questions too. We'll be doing a Q&A on Friday.
Yes.
Which I think Lee dropped in the comments too.
But yeah, and we're moving the community off of Kajabi. I'm sorry, Kajabi, but good God. I mean,
don't be sorry. I'm sorry to everybody in the community.
Yeah, we finally moved into Facebook. We're keeping the course on Kajabi, but we're moving the community to Facebook because, like, Kajabi, thank God. That's all I can say about it. But anyways, enough of that. So you talk about if they're newer, maybe they don't have that. How do you feel about working with them to kind of bring that out? Because I tend to find copywriting clients who are attracted to this obnoxiousness that I am for whatever reason, and they want to be that, and yet when you give them the copy, they're like, "Oh, we can't say that." It's like, "Oh no, come on, damn it!" And so, do you ever see that from a branding standpoint too, where it's just like you see this brilliance in it, you're trying to bring it out of them, and yet they're just like putting on the brakes because it's scary for them to step out there the way that they know they can?
Yes, and not as much as you would think. Okay. And I think I know why. I think our marketing copy is so aggressive, and our process is pretty aggressive too. Like we build entire brands in 1 and 2 day intensives. So clients see the copy and it is complete and on the website by the end of the day. So there's not, they're hiring us understanding that they're kind of buying our advice on what it should be as much as anything else. My job, as is your job, and what you're saying is to pull it out of them and to say the thing that really they want to say all along. So I tend to find that even when, I want them to be a little nervous. I mean, if they're a little nervous, I think I did my job. I did my job well. And I usually kind of get this like, oh yeah, okay. And that's, if I get that response, and then by the end of the day, when we finally, put it up, they're always like, yeah, no, I'm really excited about this, So, and then when they get the first comment back, when they show it to their whoever, and they're like, oh, that's so cool. Then they're on fire. So that's kind of the progression of the experience. And
that's awesome. And I love those that turn out like that, but sometimes I shock people a little too much, and not to pick on the British, but especially if they're from the other side of the pond, sometimes they put up a little more resistance.
Yeah.
But we love them anyway.
We do.
I'm not surprised. Yeah. I mean, I've had some clients in New Zealand and London, and I had the same experience.
So let's talk about the second part of building a badass brand, Pia. I know we had talked a lot about repel and attract, and how that's not necessarily an in-your-face type thing, but it is a very clear and defined voice and a very clear and defined brand. But the second part of that, charging the premium price, walk us through what that looks like. Walk us through that part of the badass brand about how you decide, is this changing and augmenting the prices that are already there? Or is it, how do you, determine what prices should be? What's the process? Is that part of the intensive? Kind of walk us through what you got going on in that part of building a badass brand.
Yeah. Well, pricing and money is one of my favorite topics.
Good.
And partially because some people hate talking about it. I'm like, I love talking about this. So I think more people should be talking about the numbers because they're so important, to the success of a business. So I have a different take on pricing, I think, than most people. I think everyone should base pricing on what they're going for and kind of ignore what the going rate is. So I have kind of a formula that I wrote about in my book, and I
rating algorithm.
Sorry? Is
it a rating algorithm?
No, it's a pricing algorithm. And
that's even better.
Yeah, and it's pretty simple. Again, service businesses, it's pretty simple. Figure out how much money you need, want, and really want, and how and what prices do you need to charge for your services in order to make that money only working 50% of your working hours with that. So 80 hours a month. That's it. So you have to figure it out based on 80 hours a month.
So the 80 hours a month, how I'm trying to figure out, because I love talking about pricing strategies too.
Yeah.
Especially when you talk about like just buying, like in essence, you're just buying time, right? I'm going to sell 80 hours out of my month. How much is it worth it for me to sell to you? And how much can you buy at what rate?
Yep.
So do you approach pricing for service-based businesses on a project or an hourly rate, on a fixed cost estimate? What do you typically recommend?
Yeah. So I recommend only packaged services. I recommend basically having 3 tiers of them, and that's it. You have 3 tiers of your service, and those prices have to be based loosely on the amount of time that they take fitting into this formula of 80 hours of client work a month. Now, that once you have what that price is, now you've got something to go on, because now you can look at your offerings and you can look at your price and say, how far away am I from that number or not? But at least now you know what that number needs to be. And now I know what to do. Okay, I'm really far away. Well, I need to figure out how to make this process more efficient and or increase the value of this process. And I like to approach it that way, as opposed to the way I think a lot of people approach it, which is just, I want to charge as much as possible, or I just want to make as much as possible, or I want to sell as much as possible. Forget that. You want to be working a maximum of 80 hours average, by the way, because sometimes, I mean, I used to do this where we'd only work for like 3 months and then we wouldn't work for 6 months at a time. But on average, you want to be working 50% or less of your working hours, 80 hours a month approximately, with clients making money at that price point. You need to make your money. Yeah, sorry.
You work a total of 80 hours for a month? Like a whole month?
So,
for pricing?
With clients.
Yes. Okay. I was so confused for a minute. I thought it was like 80 hours a week, not a month. No. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then the month hit in.
And this is the max. So this is your first goal. So for example, when I first hit my goal for this, years ago, I was doing 2 $10,000 brand ups, and it was taking me 80 hours of the month to do that. So I was making $20,000 a month doing 2 weeks of work. And then I had the other 2 weeks that I could use for business development and, whatever I wanted. So that, to me, that's the first goal, because that is the first mark of sustainability when you're working with a service business. You need that other time in order to build your business, build your credibility online, do things like this. You just need that time. And I don't think enough service businesses factor that time into their pricing. And then once you hit that price, well, then you just keep going. I call that the 50-25-25 rule: 50% for your client work, 25% for business development, 25% for fun. But once you hit that price, you can just keep going. So our price point is now we're like at like 10. We're like at like, 10, 50, 40 or something like that. Right. I mean, because you can always keep going, but that's how I approach pricing. And the other thing is, you just have to know what these prices are, so you understand what your goals are, and you may not be there. So then I have kind of a different approach to how you get there, which is just incrementally increasing your prices, increasing the value, decreasing the time you spend.
Okay. It sounds simple, man. But then when you think about it, you're like, oh, crap. Yeah, no, there's a lot that goes into it.
Like everything in life.
Yeah. Services are so much fun to think about. I'm so curious, like with the 80 hours a month, because the way that I literally was just doing this last night, and the math I was looking at basically part of hours of the year. So in any given year, there are 8,760 hours. And if you wanted to sell full time, your work week is 40 hours. That's like 23.8% active time. So 2,086 total hours. And then calculating your amount that you're charging per hour based on how much you want to make a year. So if you want to make, if you're worth $1 million a year and you divide that $1 million by the 8,760, if you're willing to sell all of your hours, then you're only $114 an hour. Right. But if you're only willing to sell 40 hours a week and you still want to make that $1 million, you've got to charge $479 an hour. So when you really look at the scalability of the amount of time that you're ready to invest to get what you want to make, it becomes a staggering difference when you think about how much you're working to get it.
Yes. I love
Random thoughts, but I'm
just
really excited to have this conversation.
I love that. I use, I can't think off the top of my head of how I came to it, but I use 960. That's the hours. You have 960 hours to work with clients max a year. So figure it out.
Yeah,
Oh,
trying to
man.
think 52. I mean, there's 52 weeks in the year, 80.
I think
80
I did it by month. I think I always
Gotcha.
I always like round up in my favor for
4,
whatever I'm
4,
doing
5,
with numbers. I think I just
5.
did 12. I mean,
Yeah.
it's 12 times 80.
Something like that.
60.
It makes sense. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
selling like twice as much time as you are.
12
So it
times
looks
6,
like
yeah. Well, and
y'all
that's the thing. I mean, when I'm working with people, they're not going to be there right away. They're
Right.
going to be working more than 80 hours a month with their clients, and that's okay. But
Maybe a
you
week.
need to understand what. Yeah, I hope not. But you got to understand that is the goal, or else you're the kind of person who's just working all the time and thinking that your time isn't worth anything, right? People think that time is the free thing that they have. No, your time is precious. Like, you need to hoard your time as much as possible.
Your time is the only thing that you can actually give to anyone.
Oh,
I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
Like, I've thought about even just like trying to illustrate the concept, like having little bucks, like time bucks. Like, you have 1 hour. Here you go. Here's your $1. You get 24 of them every day. You're going to give 12 to sleep.
I like it.
You've only got $12 left. Hey, I've got a 10-month-old son. I've got to start thinking about these things of how to train. So you only got $10 left. How are you going to spend that on your time the rest of the day and still get what you want to get done? And when people start thinking in that way, you start to realize really what you're capable of and what you're not capable of. So it helps with that scheduling, that overwhelm, that sense of like impending doom that we have when we have all of these tasks over our head just hanging there. And your time is really where it's at and where it's valuable. And I'm glad that we can really illustrate that and show that today.
I love that. Yeah, I'm going to get the $24.
I mean, seriously, because that's like, people are so just hooked on these tangibles. It's so much easier for us to understand something if we can see it, if we can feel it, if we can do it ourselves, and if we convince ourselves of the learning that we're getting. That's how you get that true assimilation of that knowledge. So I thought it was a great idea and something that would really help and is really timely, especially when you talk about what's going on in the world right now and the economy and how businesses are changing, and the things that we can do to really be more effective right now are all based on time. Use this time. You were talking about 50, 25, 25. Most people I know that are entrepreneurs, and not just a few, are not doing that, myself at the first of the line. If you're at 99.01, you might got a problem that you need to look at and re-examine things and way raise your prices. Like, that's what I was coming to the determination of, was just, holy crap, like maybe some of my old market might not be able to afford it, but you can't keep doing this at the rate that you're selling it. It's supply and demand. You've only got so much supply. You can't just create more supply of hours in a day. I can't have more than $24.
But people do everything they possibly can to do that. And that means that they're, working at 11 o'clock at night, and they're sacrificing their health, and they're sacrificing their time with their family. And it's like, what are you doing this for? And there's a time and a place for that kind of work. I've certainly sacrificed my health for my business many times. But I'll probably continue to do that in short stints in order to get to the next place. But there has to be a plan for that to end. It can't just be, how business goes. And I think that's the difference, is understanding this is not how business is. This is like maybe the step towards getting to the next opportunity in business.
So how do you recommend that we go about the discovery process for this? How do I discover in my business if I'm doing this? How do I discover if I'm not charging the right prices, and if my brand isn't up to alignment or up to snuff, or have the kind of voice that I want to have?
Well, you can test your brand by asking yourself two things. Are you attracting and repelling? And are you charging premium prices? And if you're not doing those two things, you have work to do. And then the pricing is easy. I mean, you can make it more complicated and get more granular, but I think it's pretty simple. And that's why I just like to use as a base. It's $960. How many hours do your typical projects take? That's the first thing, though. I think a lot of people, I ask this question, but a lot of people don't know that. You know how long the projects take? And I don't just mean doing the work. I mean the emailing and the and the calls and all that stuff. All of that is part of the project. You need to take that into account. And we made this whole intensive branding method to cut all that bullshit out. you know?
Right.
I mean, I kind of made it because I was so resistant to tracking my time. I said, oh, well, I have a better way to do it. I'm just going to only do it in these day intervals. And then I know exactly how long it takes.
Yeah.
I've given myself that restraint, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, you can do a quick back of the napkin math and say, well, what am I charging for these approximately how many hours? And, you know, what am I going to make if I'm only working with clients 50% of the time? And does that work? And if it doesn't, well, I got to do something different.
So what about if you have multiple businesses?
Yes. So multiple businesses or multiple like income streams in your business?
Like multiple businesses with multiple income streams.
Yeah. You know, I don't have multiple businesses, so I don't fucking know. I'm not there yet.
Two businesses with different income streams and a podcast that you do like 5 times a week for an hour.
Right. I mean, you know, I tend to still keep my activities within these confines. So, you know, making sure that I'm making the money that I need and want within those 80 hours. And then the rest of the time is kind of up for grabs. So, I mean, I haven't worked more than 25 hours a week for a few years now. And it has, even though I've continued to increase my different income streams, so I've done other things, I've limited the amount of time that I have. And so then I have to fit it in. And that's partially because I have a 2-year-old. And I just decided that was how it's going to be. But, you know, I think there's something really effective about only giving yourself that amount of time.
Yeah. So still do the same thing. You're like, look, it doesn't matter if you have more to do. You're just gonna have to be much more effective with the way that you get things done.
Exactly.
And really delegate a lot better during that time.
Exactly.
So,
and have you read Profit First? Have either of you read Profit First? Oh,
but I bet I will in a couple of weeks when you ask me again.
Yes, it's a great book. It's similar but very different in the approach, and it's about managing your money. But he does a similar thing in that he kind of puts the restrictions in first. And I read that book after I kind of came up with this thing for myself, and I was like, there's kind of a lot of similarities here. But he's talking specifically about cash flow. But the same rule applies. You know, if you restrict this money here and this profit here and your operating expenses here, and then you only spend that, then that's how profitable you'll be. And the same goes for your time.
And that's awesome. I love it. I love time. Time is just so much fun to talk about. Time. So how do you, like, when you talk about premium price, I'm sorry to keep dwelling on it, but this is just so much fun to talk about. Premium price. How do you know if your price is premium or not?
So this is going back to what I said originally about how you price your services. I kind of don't care what other people are charging. The premium price is that it's giving you the freedom in your life that you want. So that's why I like having good, better, best goals. You know, what do you need? And when I say need, I don't mean bare bones need. I just mean like need to live comfortably. And then what do you want that would be like, okay, I feel pretty luxurious in here. And then what's that bigger goal? And so you can see the different levels of what your pricing can be. Don't worry, everybody has an easy time figuring out what the better and best goals are. And those are usually very premium prices. But even the good, you know what? It could be a low price to one person, but if it gives you a life of freedom that you want, doing something you love, working with clients, that's premium pricing to me. You know, I mean,
it's about how you feel when you're setting those prices.
It's about the life that you get from those prices.
I think that's another element that I'd like to throw in there too.
Yes.
You know, and that involves your client. You should be charging them enough for them to trust you.
True.
Because, you know, we have a tendency to think we're doing clients favors by undercharging when what we're really doing is eroding their trust in us, because why wouldn't we be charging enough to feed ourselves and live the lifestyle we want if we, you know, had the skills that we say we do?
Such an important point. Yeah. And so many people exactly trying to do people a favor, and they don't understand that they're actually just attracting a different kind of client. I mean, there have been plenty of people that I have not hired because they were lower priced. And I could tell I was doing it, but I couldn't help it. I was like, I just don't believe that you're as good as you're saying you are, because you would be charging more if you were. And I don't know if that I was right or not, but I didn't find out.
Right.
Wow. All right. What do we got here? Dang. I didn't have anything ready. All right.
What about the phone line?
Yeah.
Ominous cows. Ominous cows. There we go. All right. I need to be on that a little bit harder there. So
awesome.
we get into those things. Yeah, and I'll just there we go. We have Godzilla Kitty to help liven things up. So
are we going to open the phone lines?
Let's go ahead and do that. Let's open it. Where's the banner?
So for those of you guys who are hearing this 35 seconds later, we are opening the phone lines and very much encourage you to call in. Again, we are very much encouraging you. I know you are listening to call in. The number is on the bottom of the screen as I speak. So if you're not picking up your phone and calling 888-406-0998, you're doing it wrong. If you want to bow tie up with the festival, that's 888-406-0998. Thank you.
Call now.
Hopefully we'll hear that in about 2 minutes once everybody catches up. So in the meantime, elevator music background. Let's keep going.
All right.
Well, we're not actually playing elevator music. Just imagine it's there.
You got a Warner brother.
I just did. I'm not actually playing the video.
Oh no, I thought you were wanting me to queue up elevator music.
No,
I was like, you gotta give me.
No, dog. I wanted to do something like get through Appalachia, nice train journey. I just do this. Thank you for that lovely ride. I truly enjoyed.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
This is what we do.
I love this thing.
Yeah.
we have a lot of fun.
I want this
it always
thing.
falls apart at some point, but we have
I love it.
So all right, well, let's get back to the branding discussion. If anybody is going to do one thing to improve their branding this week before Friday, 5 p.m., what is it? Oh, you're doing stop the show and say hello.
I am going to stop the show and say hello to some of my favorite people out in the audience because you are joining us here today. While you think about that question, yes. So saying hello out there on LinkedIn to Kelsey Lips jumping in, saying amazing advice, guys. This is a template that makes sense. Love it. I agree. I think this is some of the best advice you guys have heard on branding. Actually, this is the best advice that you have heard on branding. Shout out
to Lindsay, who popped in here a little bit earlier too and had some pretty cool comments. Don't get me started on pricing. I've been having a back and forth all day, so this is something I'm working on. We all go through it, you know.
I'm still going through it. Honestly, like I go through it on a daily basis. Like especially when it comes to friends and people that I just want to help out, you know, because like what goes through my head is like, and that's partially because I'm completely bootstrapped, so you know, different thoughts. But you know, when you're thinking about like, oh well, I really want to help you out, like I want to get this project done for you, I've known you for a while, I don't want to just charge you full price because I know that that'll probably be pretty expensive. And then I had one, like the only time that I charged a full rate that I was like really satisfied with, the client just bitched about hours after we were done because we had roadblocks. Like I had given them a estimate on hours. I was like, oh, I can literally fix this in like 4 hours. It's no big deal. But I didn't have access to what I had needed yet. And so by the time I got my access, well, screep cope. And it was something basically completely different. And the client kept wanting like other changes and revisions and stuff.
Were
and
you
I'm like,
charging hourly?
Yeah, I was. And then they wouldn't they didn't pay me for those extra hours because they were like, oh, well, you gave me the estimate. I'm like, yeah, it was an estimate. I told you. Something comes up. But so that's like part of my concerns.
Wait, do you still charge hourly?
I do sometimes. Like a lot of times I do project costs for a lot of our projects and then subscriptions and then hourly for like just dev.
Yeah. I mean, when you're doing like technician type of stuff, it can be hard to not charge hourly. And, you know, I mean, like I pay my VA hourly because there's no project around it, but I am so against hourly in the, you know, theoretically and anything that is more expert.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, if you're selling expert services, to me, if you've also got hourly stuff, that's the great kind of stuff to outsource, to charge a premium on and just get, even if it's a small little premium, if it's a technician type of thing, that's not worth your time because you have more high value stuff to offer.
That's what I've been trying to do. The problem is I have such a diverse range of services, and some of them are so critical that I can't outsource the required skills because of how long it would take me to onboard somebody with the skill sets needed. So
for each project or in general?
In general, for most projects, like I've got my staff, I have like 8 people that I can tap for whatever I need, and that's awesome. But it's really when it comes to onboarding somebody for the things that eat up my time, like a lot of like the actual configuration stuff, like owning all of the websites, maintaining all of those, the registrations, the records, where things are pointing, different migrations, the really techie stuff. Gets pretty intense. But those are my problems, so that doesn't matter. Just getting out on a tangent because I've been going through it.
Part entertainment, part therapy, whatever, man.
You already know, man.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. That's why they show up every day.
Something like that. And thank you guys, by the way, for showing up. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
We don't appreciate you not calling our number. So if you're listening to this again, guys, pick up your phone.
I mean, you guys are bringing back the call-in. I mean, I haven't seen a call-in. I'm impressed.
We thought we'd try it out.
Someone prove that the call-in works. And
nobody's called us yet.
People might be calling off the hook, and it's just not working. There is that.
Me and tech, that's
what people don't like to talk on the phone, though. Also,
that's
part of it.
That's true. But we just thought we'd try it out. And it'll probably go in the digital dustbin with all the other things that we tried out. And,
no, you guys should bring the call in back. I like that.
It's retro. Okay,
it is retro.
Everything old is new again, guys.
Yeah.
I guess.
This actually came from our friend Brian Brody, who's back and doing the Brian Brody show over on Facebook.
Who is?
Yeah, he really is. Okay. Yes, I mean, this guy survived, 5 brain tumors, 5 brain surgeries, and the guy's back doing live casting.
Wow,
guy's unbelievable. So I have tons of respect for that guy. Yeah. But that's where that all came from. That he had to call in line, and he would actually have some ne'er-do-wells and scalawags call in here and there and heckle mostly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, mostly heckling. Occasionally, I had a friend from Venezuela who would call, or something like that. But he did the call in thing, and so I kind of picked. I stole everything from him, basically.
See, I want to have a click in link. You can click to join instead of call to join.
Yeah.
Calling is so retro,
man. A lot of steps.
Yeah. We'll have the old and the new.
Yeah. All right. Fine.
We'll have it both. But as you guys are listening to this conversation, we are still asking you, call in. It's all good. It would mean a lot to us. It would make Lee so happy. I'll show another picture of my Lee.
What?
If somebody calls in, because I've got 3 in my pocket. Shown one already. It's Lee as Miley Cyrus. I had it photoshopped a while back. Don't ask.
Nishant said calling from India isn't possible, but he wants to know how to get started with branding. So, I know that that's not who you really work with, but like for very, very beginners, do you have anything for Nishant?
I do. I mean, I get contacted by lots of absolute beginners, and my advice is not what they want to hear. It's go work with some people.
Go get clients.
Go get clients. You do not need a brand and a website and a logo to get clients, and they might be the lowest paying, even a free client, but you need to do your service a few times before you can start to brand, because a lot of people just hide behind, they want to spend a lot of time on the colors, which mean nothing. They'll do nothing for you in the beginning. What's going to do something for you is like putting yourself out there. People don't want to do that because it's scary. I get it. Right. So that's the advice. Like, go get a couple of clients. And that's what I tell people when they want to hire us, because there's some people who have money and they're like, Pia, I'm starting a company and I want to do this right the first time. So I'm ready to hire you and put down a lot of money to have you do it right. I'm like, well, that's not going to work. That would be such a waste of money. Go get some clients. Your money can't fix that problem for you. And you know why? If I brand you, I tell them, I can make you a really awesome looking website and logo. I mean, obviously we could make something out of thin air, out of our brains if you let us,
Right.
but it won't be you. Yeah, it won't be yours. It won't be based on things you actually want to do. It'll be based on this hypothesis of what you want to do. And you know what? More often than not, your hypothesis is not right.
It is not. You literally will not even be close. It won't even be. And that's how you can tell. You can tell who's like where in their business by if they're talking about the theory of making things a little bit better and doing something, or talking about the step-by-step. Like, I'm not just going to go tell you, hey, go build a website. I'm going to be like, hey, you should probably use Webflow for your website if you want to host it really cheaply. If you're not comfortable with tech, try out Squarespace. If you absolutely hate yourself, go to WordPress. You know, like you can, if you can give specifics, then you can actually help, and you actually have a brand because you have something to say. If you don't have something to say, just ideas that might or might not work without any backup behind it, you're not going to resonate with anybody because they know that there's no depth to it.
Right.
So go get those clients.
I told people in one of my groups this morning that if I was starting over the copywriter with no credibility, no brand, no anything, I would just spend 3 months just taking whatever shit projects I could find, whatever prices I could find, finding out what works and what doesn't. I was like, I would delight some clients and I would horrify others. But I would find out real quick who I wanted to serve and who I had the capacity to serve.
Yes.
And then dial in the niche, and then niche down, then build your brand.
Figure out who you work well with. Figure out who you work well with.
Yes, exactly. You can't know that until you take some shitty projects.
Right.
Until you have some clients make you want to go out in the driveway and scream.
You're going to learn so much.
It's going to happen.
Worst experiences are the ones that are most valuable.
I spilled coffee.
I had this client who didn't listen to me. I was coaching her, so I wasn't doing the brand itself. And she didn't listen. And she was like, I'm just going to build my whole thing specifically for accountants and bookkeepers. So she went through the whole process, did it and then she had her first accountant client. And she was like, I don't want to work with these people. I want to do it for creative services. Yeah, no kidding. Like, you know? So you have to retool the whole thing. I mean,
right. And that's so important. Figure out the different types of business owners that you're going to work with, guys, because there's a lot of them out there. And none of them are the same, but there are some commonalities amongst those different niches or industries and experience too. Business owners, I think that one of the most interesting things that you'll learn as a new business owner is that business owners are just like you. Like, you're a business owner too. There's nothing fundamentally different between the two of you guys. You can have a conversation, you can have a discussion, you can talk about your business, you can lean on other people for support, you can ask them those questions that you don't understand. But most of all, if you're delivering value, what you do is very valuable and they can't do it. So if you take that approach, like, you're going to get those clients, you're going to learn who you work well with, and then you'll be able to make that brand later.
And who you like working with, which is really important.
There's your target market, and then your addressable market. Very big difference.
I will work with somebody who's passionate about what I'm doing before I work with somebody who has tons of experience. You know,
or tons of money.
Exactly. You know, somebody who's working on my stuff, that's just that's what I'm looking for. And you say that the people you like working with, that's why I mentioned that, Pia, because if you don't like working with somebody or you're not into their project, it's a drag, and that shows in what you produce and the results that they get. And it's not worth putting you or them through that. And I say that pointing both fingers at me because I've done it dozens of times. Dang it. That's how you learn.
That's how you learn. Yeah. And it's soul sucking, right? I mean, especially when you're doing copy, Lee, like you know, your copy is so much energy, and it can be so energizing and energy filled to create copy for someone when it's really exciting, right? When you're on a roll and you're writing great lines. And if the person is sucking your energy away from you, it's not worth it.
Don't work with energy vampires. Stay away from people who waste your energy, waste your time. Like, don't fit in with your brand values. Like, I'm working with a roofer right now, and I love working with him. I'm so excited to work with him because his brand is all about like giving back and doing something meaningful. And so he works with troops, not like doing roofs for like actual troops themselves like he does, but he gives back on every project to the Wounded Warrior Foundation or to Yellow Ribbon. And like what he does, like his whole brand, his whole message is, if you want somebody who's going to give you a low estimate and try to help you scam the insurance company, go somewhere else. If you want somebody who is not going to care about you, if you want somebody who's just going to give you your estimate and go about their way, don't come here. But you come here if you want somebody to care about what they're doing, somebody who's going to go the extra mile and is going to explain to you what's going on in the process. That's who we welcome. And that kind of like message, when you know as an entrepreneur that you can vibe with that and that you can relate with that, and you're like, I love your mission. I understand your mission, so I can help illustrate your voice.
Mm-hmm.
Your voice and their voice become aligned, and that's your brand. When you can start speaking with these other entrepreneurs and your voice are stacking on top of each other, that's how you know who you're going to work really well with.
Amen.
Yeah, it's fun stuff, man. It's exciting. Get out there and work with people. That's what we keep going back to. You can find them, man. Like you will find somebody on Facebook willing to spend $20 to give you a chance on something. And whatever you're doing right now, I know you said you're a business consultant at 3 Catalysts. You know, if that's the company that you started, then reach out, on your business page, start putting some things out there. If it's a different company that you're thinking about branching out and start, I mean, whatever you do, like hit up your friends, your family that that first circle that you can get to. Join some Facebook groups. There's a lot of inexperienced people there that you might even be able to work with another newer startup company, exchange some services, and then give each other reviews about the experience. And don't make it inauthentic, and don't just say great work, 5 stars, but give an in-depth explanation of the kind of service you received with this other business and use it to lift both of you guys up, give both of you guys that experience. So looking out for those opportunities is going to set you ahead early.
Well
it's not the message people want to hear, but it's the path. It's
right.
the path for everybody.
Yeah, we've all done it.
Start now or follow some silver bullets for a while and then do it, but that is going to happen.
So Nishant said, interested in learning the basics of business consultancy. That's a big subject, man. When you talk about business consultancy, and we'll have to probably talk about this either more tomorrow or maybe on a live. Pia, if you have a fun response, we can always jump that in because we're running out of time. But it really depends on what kind of consultancy you want to do. I mean, you want to consult for businesses, that's wonderful, but what benefit are you going to bring them? What sort of value do you offer? Where is it technology? Is it, their logistics? Is it, getting and placing cleaning services? I mean, what are you actually doing for these businesses that you want to consult on? Yeah. What are you selling? Figure that out, and then we can help.
And what makes you qualified?
Yes, not even different than your opponents, just what makes you qualified to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I got a group for you, Nishant, a Facebook group that's just for stuff like that. I'll send you over there as well when I send over your other link for copy brand use. So we'll get you taken care of.
And this is what we love doing, by the way. Like, this is what we geek out about. I don't know if you guys were with us before. When we walked through Kimberly, she had some questions on her business, maybe a week or so. We got to walk her through some answers on branding. So going out to everybody, past, present, and future, that's watching this, just reach out to us with any questions. We're happy to talk about them live on the show and have awesome people like Pia down here who can add to that. So you never know who else we are going to have on the stage with us talking about your business problems. Make sure to send them to us here at BowtieUP Live. Now back to your regularly scheduled interruption.
Well, you know what? It's 5:18, so we probably ought to go into final thoughts and kind of maybe sew this up.
We probably should.
Yeah.
So here's what time it is for everybody out in the audience who doesn't know, and for our lovely guest. We are going to do final thoughts. So my favorite parts of the show. You get 30 seconds, minute and a half, or however long you want for center screen to talk about what's on your mind for the day that you want to leave the audience with. As our esteemed guest, Pia, you get to go first. So I will be throwing you up on center screen, and take it away.
Well, I've been talking about badass branding today, so I guess I will leave you with this. If you want a badass brand, you got to be ready to have the guts to go all the way with whatever makes you badass and excellent. So Lee asked me before, what could you do by the end of the week? Just think about what is so badass about you that you might be scared to share, and consider the idea of owning that and going all the way with it, because that might very well be your badass opportunity.
Stay badass, folks. and believe that you are. We appreciate you. Yes. Lee, did I go first yesterday? I feel like I did, didn't I?
Or if you did or not, but if you've got something heavy on your heart, like, let her rip, man.
Oh, nah, man.
No?
I got heavy branding ideas on my heart.
All right.
I'll let you throw it up on center.
I can do that, sure. All right. Well, another wonderful episode. Thank you, everybody tuning in. Thank you, Pia, for hanging out with us today. And thank you, as always, Alex, for being my wonderful and talented co-host and 3-time winner of the Technome of the Year Award. That's always a fabulous thing, too. So, great branding insights. If you didn't catch the entire episode, go back and watch the thing again. It's well worth it. What else have I got? I knew there was a couple of things. I want to touch on this, of course, real quick, because Operation We Roll with Rick is well underway. I want to make sure that we keep the momentum going on that, because for no particular reason, we want Rick Astley, singer of 1990 whatever's Never Gonna Give You Up, to perform live on our show. And the reason we want this to happen is because friggin' Facebook decided to give me shit about playing Rick Astley. Like, you don't own it, you don't have the right, we're gonna do bad things to you, we're gonna hang you up from the ceiling and swing from the but so, like, well, screw them. We're not gonna play the recording, we're not gonna violate anybody's copyrights, we're gonna do things right. We're going to bring Rick Astley on the show and have him perform Never Gonna Give You Up live on BowtieUP live, damn it. And the way that we're going to do that is by using this hashtag, We Roll with Rick. And so we want to make this happen. I got to get with those people and see how many damn likes they want. It was atrocious, but we're going to make it happen. We're going to make him eat his words, and he's going to play on BowtieUP live.
And that'll be really cool. So if you want to see it, make sure to let us know and use the hashtag We Roll with Rick to get your voice heard. And once we know exactly how much transaction we need to have, we'll make sure that we get there, one robot or another. I mean, person or another. So without further ado, I'll hop into my final thoughts here, and we'll leave you all and bid you adieu. So first of all, just stopping the show and saying hello to Hannah. I know you had just jumped in, so thank you so much for joining us, Hannah. It's always great to have you. To Pia, our wonderful, wonderful guest today, for being with us, and for Lee for co-hosting this whole thing with me, keeping us on track and throwing ducks in the ducket bucket, which is always, always valuable. So I'll leave you with my final thoughts simply as: be a better person today than you were yesterday. Do something good, do something decent, go do something fun too, learn a new skill. Like, I'm always into tech, so go learn a new computer science, girl. Go on Code Academy and start learning HTML. I mean, do something fun, ask a question that you don't know, or something that you're curious about, to somebody who's in your industry, in your space. Do something to work on yourself. Like, you care about others, and you can be a great person caring about others, but you also have to remember that the other side of that coin is you. So make sure you're paying attention to you in that meantime, and doing at least one good thing for yourself as well as somebody else, so that you can maximize your happiness and your creativity, because you can't pour out of an empty cup. So you got $24 in the day to give to people. Make sure you at least give one to you and one to somebody else. That's just two. I think we can all do it. So do that for me, and we'll all make the world a little bit better of a place. And as always, thanks for joining us on BowtieUP. Those are my final thoughts, as Lee is muted.
Hold on. Okay, do you want the clapping? Okay. We're going to make sure we get that now. Okay.
Oh, no, we don't. I was just waiting.
We applaud you, Sir Alex. We applaud you.
Well,
You did a magnificent job. And Pia, thank you again for spending time with us. I know there's better things you could have been doing, but
No, you guys are super fun. Thank you so much for having me. This
like chilling.
This is one of my better interviews.
Woo! Awesome. We did our job.
I particularly like the interludes.
Oh, right.
I've never seen that.
Stuff we've done? Well, you know what? We'll give you a Yosemite Sam for that. Congratulations, Pia.
Ow! My biscuits are burning! Fire in the hatch!
And with that, see you on the next BowtieUP Live.
See you, friends.
Bye. Lee.